morning, everyone. I will take you through on how we as a group worked on the stroke project, the practicalities of the project and our learnings from it. The Clinical Senate was approached by GMLSC to undertake a review of the proposed plans for the stroke services across Greater Manchester. From this, a number of meetings took place to define the question, and the terms of references was developed. From this, a lead was identified and a clinical review team was put together. And you can see from the slide that there was various healthcare professionals involved in the clinical review team. So how did we do this? The clinical review team met on numerous occasions, either face-to-face or via teleconferencing. We adopted a step-by-step approach which included a desktop review of the proposed clinical model and the related information. We also conducted numerous interviews. Now, these interviews were with leaders of proposed large reconfiguration programs across Greater Manchester, clinical leads and their teams, and we also conducted site visits where we met with people who were involved in the service change. As a team, we identified the tasks and we prioritised what needed to be done. Now, at each of these meetings, at each of these interviews, at each of these site visits, not every single member of the clinical team was available. However, we ensured that there was at least 2 members from the clinical review team that did attend. Each meeting, each interview, each site visit was written up. It was then uploaded onto Huddle to share amongst the members of the clinical review team. Now, some of us did have difficulty managing and handling Huddle, so the information was then sent via email. All the information was collated and Juliet wrote the report. This report was then sent out to the clinical review team members to review and to make any necessary changes that needed to be made. Once we had agreed on the draft report, this was then sent out to the other members of the Clinical Senate Council for comment. Again, we received feedback. If changes needed to be made, then it was made. Once we had approval from the Clinical Senate Council, we then submitted the report to Alan and his team 2 days after the agreed timeline. As a team, we accomplished what we set out to do, and that was to review the stroke services for Greater Manchester. We produced a report and we submitted it to the commissioners. I'll be honest with you, it was by no means an easy feat, and it was very, very challenging. So how did we do it? Why were we successful? Well, firstly, we were motivated to give advice and assurance regarding the process of the stroke services. Like many of us, I work with patients. I work with patients either indirectly or directly, but it's those patients that walk through my pharmacy doors, so I'm working with patients at a local level. What this project allowed us to do is work at a much higher level, where you can make a difference and have an impact, not just on the local patients that you look after, but patients across the whole of the conurbation. Now that's impactful. We planned ahead, as I've already mentioned, we prioritised tasks, and we kept to time. time management was key, and at all of the meetings that we held, there was an agenda that we followed with the flexibility to include any other business, and in line with that, we stuck to time. We all are very busy people. We've got busy work lives, we've got busy personal lives. So it was very much a juggling act between work and life balance. And if you can get that right, you're doing really great. But then to add in a project on top of that, so this is in addition to your normal day-to-day work, but we did it. And it's through prioritising. Yeah, there's a little bit of give and take, but we were able to do it. And I just remember receiving emails from Juliet saying, we have another meeting, we've got another teleconference. And to me, it was like, where am I going to fit this in? But you do. And the reason why we did was we were focused and we were working towards a common goal. Within the team, there was an open communication. We listened to each other. We were open to ideas and suggestions. And there was humour as well. There was also mutual trust, respect, and support for each other within the team. And yes, as a team, we worked really well. We remained focused, and we drew on the knowledge within the group and the knowledge that the group had gained through their readings that they had undertaken. But more importantly, we were working for success. So what were the lessons that we learned? Well, various healthcare professionals can work together. This was the first time that members of the Clinical Senate Council had come together to work on a project. And what this allowed us to do is to get to know each other more on a personal level and a professional level as well. One clear thing that certainly came out of this is the timeline. The timeline that's been agreed between the commissioners and the Senate Council, is that appropriate for us to undertake the work, to complete it and submit the report? I've already mentioned we submitted the report 2 days after the agreed initial timeline. So sometimes there is negotiation that needs to take place, because what we want to do is do a really good job of what we've been asked to do. Just like in any project group work, it's about being mindful that there may be someone in the team who may be struggling with a piece of work or a task that they've committed to do. So it's providing support where it's needed. It's a development opportunity. You learn new skills, you fine-tune your current skills, and you learn about a new topic. What I knew about the Greater Manchester Stroke Services, you couldn't even write it on the back of a stamp. But I'll tell you what, I can certainly hold my own now when discussing these services. I've already mentioned time management is key, and this is about becoming a successful juggler, if I could call it that. And we were all able to do this, and none of my spinning plates came crashing down. We had committed to do something, and with that commitment, we were accountable to each other. And one of the great things about this project work and our success at this was that we combined our skill sets. I've really enjoyed working on this project, and for me, it's certainly stretched me. It certainly challenged me, and I learnt something new. I am proud to work with my Senate Council colleagues on this project, and I'm proud to have my name on the report that was submitted to GMS. And I look forward to working on my next project with my Senate Council colleagues and yourselves.